remarks. So we have come to the close. I promise also to the interpreters, whom I thank again. And I want to thank everybody for, once again, for these very intense 3 days. You know, this is now the 4th time we meet in the GRF, in the Global Refugee Forum format. 2 GRF, 2 progress review. So I think it's becoming really a solid, important, as was mentioned by many of the speakers, opportunity to really float ideas, discuss frankly on issues that are quite complicated. And this is, as I said at the first GRF in 2019, this is the most important refugee forum in the world. And I'm very, very proud that we are part of organizing it, and I want to thank all of you for these 3 powerful days. I want to just very, very informally, I'm not reading from a prepared speech, but I want to share a few reflections on the big themes that have gone across the discussions. 3 or 4 big themes. The first is really, and I'm very happy, I think it's the most important of all, it's I heard, and my colleagues heard loud and clear, a commitment to the international protection of refugees. This is the most important. And a commitment to the institution and right to seek asylum. I cannot think of a more important aspect of the discussions, because conflicts and human rights violations continue to be the driver of displacement, the main drivers of displacement. I must say that I was quite shocked to hear one delegation here today say that the Rohingya refugees fled because of poverty and the pull factor of resettlement. They fled because of violence perpetrated against them by the military. And those are the refugees. Those are the people that need to have a space for international protection, and I felt that that space was reiterated here, and we must be very, very clear about that. I must say that it was important to hear this reiterated by states. This is very important. They're the main actors in international protection. But we know very well, many of you, and I thank those states that reiterated this commitment, but we know that the risks of erosion of refugee protection exist. So we do need very much everybody's smart support for refugee protection. We need it from the faith-based actors, as we heard. We need it from the civil society organizations. We need it from refugees, refugee-led organizations, former refugees, people with lived experience. From all angles, we have to build this advocacy, and I heard this here, and I thank you for that. Because if the 1951 Convention is a state instrument, the institution of asylum belongs to everybody. And it is up to all of us to defend and to protect it together. And I insist that this action of protection needs to be smart, cannot be simply statements and reiteration of principles that we all agree with. It has to be smart, taking into account the extreme complexities of today's forced displacement and population movements. And this has been very much discussed also in the debate on asylum. I think we should not be afraid of innovative tools in dealing with forced displacement, as long as we continue to defend the basic principles. I've said it many times, I've been asked by the journalists today, the principles remain, the tools evolve. This is why we have the Global Compact on Refugees. Another big theme I want to spend a couple of minutes on is sustainability. This was a theme running across all discussions, not least because of the catastrophic financial situation that all the aid sector find itself in. So I think that we're all struggling, or all, well, striving, not struggling, we're all striving to find ways to have sustainable responses, medium, longer term responses to the crisis to the humanitarian crisis and the refugees displacement crisis that we have to face. And this, of course, this discussion here at the Progress Review was the continuation of a debate that has been going on for many years. And I want to thank the development actors. We heard from Felipe Munoz earlier about that. I want to thank the private sector that is increasingly playing an important role in sustainable responses. And like I said earlier at the side event on sustainable responses, it's really about national ownership of strategies to respond and international support to those same strategies. And this is, of course, not just at the national level. That's why it was so important to hear from the mayor, because a lot of this action has to be done at the local level. And this effort to have sustainable responses essentially founded on inclusion, these responses need to have refugees, refugee-led organizations at their center. I am very happy that the discourse on inclusion in services, inclusion in the economy of refugees, of displaced people, of returnees when they go back to their country, like in Syria today, that this theme of inclusion is becoming much more mainstream. If I have to think back to the 10 years during which I've been in this job and think of one main area of progress, is the progress on inclusion. That is not to say that we have won the battle. We haven't yet. The way to go is very long, but that's where we have really made, in these last 10 years, enormous strides, in particular after 2018 and the establishment of the compact. And in that spirit, and in the spirit of the compact, I want to mention a couple of things. You know, this pledging system that was created by the compact, and which, you know, sometimes are these pledges really implemented? Well, maybe not all, but it is an effective system. And I want to flag again, as I flagged earlier in the Syria side event, the pledge by Syria. Syria made its first ever pledge here at this forum, and it was an amazing pledge. Read it, because it's all about the integration of returnees. And Germany made, in response to that, a pledge supporting all aspects of the Syria pledge. This is how it should be. I really want to thank Syria and Germany for having led the way, and many others have done that. I'm not suggesting, but that one, in my opinion, was particularly symbolic of the current situation, because it encapsulates the spirit of the Global Refugee Forum and of the Global Compact on Refugees in terms of, you know, this much mentioned approach, responsibility sharing, burden sharing. So please carry on. This is really should be the main focus going forward towards the 2027 third GRF. The third theme that I wanted to flag, and this is, in my opinion, one of the main challenges in our world of international cooperation going forward. We must be smarter and more effective in addressing fragility. Addressing fragility in every respect, you know, fragility caused by conflict, fragility caused by climate, fragility caused by poverty. I think it's very, very important, because in the end, if you analyze forced population movements, they're largely originated in fragile states. And I believe that to break those vicious cycles of population displacement and return, of drought and floods, of conflict and ceasefires. We have to break those cycles. Otherwise, we'll never get out of the current very deep crisis in which the aid sector is in. We really need to look more seriously at how to invest in responding to fragility. This is difficult because development, sorry, I'm not an expert, but I think I can say this after so many years, development is not designed to address fragility. Is designed largely to address more stable situations. That is also important. But if we don't address fragility, we will have more and more countries and regions sliding into fragility and less opportunities for real development. And this is really very important. You know, I'm thinking, of course, of countries in conflict, like Sudan. This is perhaps the most difficult category of fragility countries. I'm thinking, however, of countries that have emerged from conflict, but not completely, like South Sudan, like Somalia, like Burundi. And I'm thinking of countries that are maybe more advanced in the way of stability, like Syria, for example. All of them, however, still have fragility element that requires investment, and that investment, among many other things, will anchor people and will give stability and reduce forced displacement. There are, of course, many other highlights that I could flag, but there's too many and we don't have time. I am told by my colleagues that have counted, there are at least 30 new pledges, including, like in the case of Syria, some new pledgers. I want to thank the private sector. We have heard from the Qatar Charity, from Building Better Futures, from the Grundfos Foundation, from the Cartano Foundations, and I'm sure I'm forgetting many others, very important and very large financial pledges. We're very happy about that. And like I said the other night at an event for our private sector partners, what I'm really pleased about is that it's not just the philanthropic aspect, it's the partnership with the private sector in many important areas that is growing and is becoming mainstream. Of course, the funding challenges have been a theme running throughout these discussions, and many of you, and unfortunately this was necessary, reminded us of the terrible impact that this incredibly abrupt but very, very deep funding cuts have created, the hardship that they have created around the world. Nobody should tell us that those funding cuts have not caused loss of lives. They have already caused loss of lives, and I hope that all those who can address this with resources will reflect into the new year how we can turn around and, with everybody's efforts, efficiency on one side, generosity on the other, really address this important situation. I have to say something, and I heard this over and over again, and I can reconfirm this on behalf of our organization. It's been a very difficult year, especially from the financial point of view. And we did take this brutal and direct hit. And that hit, make no mistakes, was also meant to weaken us. It was not politically innocent. It was meant to weaken us. But we will not be weakened. We will not be weakened. And this determination, I can tell you, is very strong in UNHCR, in my organization. But having heard carefully all of you for the past 3 days, I know that we're all together in this determination to stand up and continue to do our work, that it is not just a work delivering aid, it is a work about justice, about rights, about protection, and this is what we cannot weaken. We saw it for those of you who were last night at the Nansen ceremony. I am so happy that the committee, the Nansen committee, decided to award, I said it last night already, so bear with me, but to give the global award to a community leader in Cameroon who convinced, underline convinced, his community to keep the door open for refugees coming from the Central African Republic when the Central African Republic was in the midst of a crisis. I think this is really an example to the world. And I will conclude with a few personal notes. I want, first of all, to thank all those, and there have been overwhelmingly many, that have addressed to me personally some kind words. Thank you very much. Allow me to share these words with all my colleagues at UNHCR, with our partners, and all the refugees and displaced and stateless people we work with. They deserve those words more than me. And I want to also, go back a little bit beyond the 10 years of UNHCR, the 42 years of my humanitarian engagement, and single out in particular my time at UNRWA. I was very happy to host, yesterday we were very happy to host the Commissioner General of UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, who spoke very clearly and very strongly for this podium. So I want to use this opportunity, my last public speech as High Commissioner for Refugees, to also send our thoughts to our UNRWA colleagues, our thoughts to the families of the colleagues who have been killed in Gaza during the past years, together with thousands of other Palestinians, but also a word of encouragement that what they are doing, they've been my organization for 9 years, what they're doing is extremely valuable and need the support of all of you. Palestinian refugees are part of the global refugee community and refugee family, and I want here to really share a thought for them and share with you my hope for peace, for Gaza, for the West Bank, and for Israel. And let me also use this moment, these last few words, to remember all those among the refugees and displaced that have been most, like the Palestinians, most punished in a way by history. I have dedicated a good part of my career, not only to the Palestinians, but to the Afghan people, for example, or to the Kurds during the Gulf War, many other populations that history has marginalized. You know, it is also for these people, they and many others, the people that are left behind, that the UN was created. And for the sake of those people, the United Nations need to continue to be supported so that they have their dignified place among the world community and they don't become simply footnotes in history. Final words to a number of people very quickly. First of all, to the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. He's not here today, my brother and friend Volker Türk, but you know that when he was the Assistant High Commissioner in UNHCR, he really had the vision of the Global Compact and steered the process that put it in place in 2018. So big thanks to Volker. I hope somebody will relay that to him. I thought it was very important to do this in this venue. I want, of course, once again, to thank our Swiss co-hosts and all the co-conveners. We heard from Ambassador Oike a very important and powerful statement for really making this, leading the preparation and the proceedings of the last few days. Many thanks to my UNHCR colleagues, to Nicolas Brass, who led the GRF team, who leads the GRF team, to Anne Kea and the governance team here on the podium. Big applause. And all colleagues from UNHCR, from other agencies, from permanent missions, from other organizations who really supported in ways big and small, including the interpreters, the technicians, the CICG staff. Big thanks to all of you from the bottom of my heart. And may I say, many thanks to the volunteers that have done fantastic work in the last few days. And simply said, you know, I started my humanitarian road as a volunteer in 1984. And in less than 2 weeks, I will return to being one of them. And my message to the volunteers, but in fact, to all of you, whatever you do, whoever you are, don't underestimate the power that you have to change things for the better and to make life more hopeful for millions together. Thank you very much. I have to do one more thing. I declare the progress review of the Global Refugee Forum closed, and I wish you a good way to the 2027 Global Refugee Forum. Thank you.